You told me I don't wanna fucking see you missing all the bloody memories of my maturity. Letting God's on the edge of insanity. Safety to reckless. Fuck it, there's a better way. And insecurity, a demonology, trapped in my psychology. Give it up for the men who made me a sycophantic liar. Hate me, like violence, like father, like silence, like mother. I hope that you felt it. You're twisted, scared daughter. Lights from blood, no blood spilled. My God, I hope you got to feel the guilt, the wasted seeds and then you left behind. The guilt, the bleeding star that won't heal with time. Come on, let me make your excuse. Was once fulfilling, not enough to abuse. Wanna make it too, but I have to be the one to get so fucking lucky. What I have to be you, when I'm gonna be a fucking nightmare. Across on my back, could have been sent it back across the river. I wait for your retribution. But I gotta hear you, say you, speak you, fuck you. Waiting for the signal to come back across the river, so I can touch and beat you. Like violence, like father, like silence, like mother. I hope that you felt it. You're twisted, scared daughter. Lights through blood, no blood spilled. My God, I hope you got to feel the guilt, the wasted seeds and then you left behind. The guilt, the bleeding star that won't heal with time. I want you to fucking hear me. I want you to fucking hear me. Your father, your mother, you're writing things on me. What the fuck is wrong? Did you do this? Did you say? Your patience is astounding when you're leaving me. And broken, empty, honest, fucking look at me. Free and sniffling and squirming race beneath your city. I am one with the guilt you've been living with, you say. Fire and woe, your father has sent to me. I am the guilt that you seek. That you seek, 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 seek. The guilt, the wasted seeds and then you left behind. The guilt, the bleeding star that won't heal with time. The guilt, I'm done with the shame. I'm moving the blame. The guilt that you seek. Listen to me. Listen to me. Listen to me.
Is that better now?
Much better. Even
Yeah.
on my end, that's much better.
Yeah, that was me. Yeah, I can hear myself coming through my headphones now, so that's it. Thank you for that, Cletus. Appreciate that. You know, one day I'll get it all set up and it'll work perfectly. But until that day, we're just gonna have to deal with the hashtag pro streamer.
There you go.
That's it. So thanks, Cletus. That fixed it. Perfect. Excellent. And hi, D. Kenny. Hey, Valerie. Hey, Cletus. Thank you all for joining us. Welcome to Chris and Daniel from Shadow of the Throne. So,
thank you.
We'll just start off with a nice, simple question. How did you both meet?
Oh, this is a story. Daniel, would you rather tell it or you want me to tell it?
Now you go ahead, man.
All right. Um, so I would say it was got to be around October or the month before that, and last year. Uh, I was finally starting to make. For a long time, I had been producing EDM music on my own, and that whole time I was producing EDM and like electronic stuff and listening to metal. So I was like, maybe I should just try and produce the stuff that I actually like, and actually put my vocals over it, because that was the one instrument that I still had in my back pocket that I could do. Um, I released a couple of songs under the pseudonym Crown of Rust, and I put them up for review. And I forget which live stream it was. I think it might have been Warp Whistle on Twitch. But
It
Daniel
might
was
have
in the
been.
chat and heard one of the songs that I put up, and then we started communicating after that. And then I think like a month after that, he approached me and he was like, "Hey man, do you want to do tracks together? Do you want to do songs together?" And then the first song that he sent me, like the first track that he sent me, was the instrumental for "Dark in Our Eyes," which is out right now. And then we've been working together ever since.
That's cool. That's it's always a cool story hearing how people get together and even with. Do you guys live quite far apart? Are you in different states or are you same state?
I mean,
We
we're
border each
close.
other.
Yeah,
But
I think we're about a 4.5 hour drive from each other.
so that's like the whole of Scotland in a drive.
That's a good point.
So,
Yeah.
um, and Daniel, from your perspective, you were doing your Ruin Effigy stuff, and you with the stuff that you'd started handing in to Che originally started with the what was the vocal app thing you were using?
Oh, yeah. Voices of Rage. At first, I had used vocal samples to just get the idea across, because instrumental metal only goes so far. And then I said, all right, let me try out Fiverr. Had mixed success on that. And then I said, screw it, I'm gonna do vocals myself. And I got to a point, but I heard Chris and I was like, man, this would be perfect with my stuff, and there's a lot of talent here. And reached out to him. So, fast track, I know what I'm good at and I know what I'm not as good at. And what I what I know that I'm really bad at. And Chris was good at the things that I wasn't. So it was a good
Yeah,
fit.
it
Excellent.
was. Like, if you go back and listen to our solo work, you could definitely tell that my stuff is lacking like his instrumental prowess. Because he's just a god with music theory in comparison to me. It's like two puzzle pieces. I love it.
Well, that's it. Bringing yourselves together and bringing the best of both worlds is going to end up with some awesome results. Chris, Cletus is saying that your volume needs to come up a little bit. Are you able to pop a wee bit?
Yeah, I've gave myself
that,
a bit more heat on my audio
yeah.
interface. I hope that's enough. I
Yeah,
don't want
no,
to
that's perfect.
clip the mic and burn everybody's ears.
No, you're all good. You're all good. And hi, Dom Terragrossa. Thank you for your song submission a while ago, and thank you and welcome to the chat. So sorry, Chris, you were saying that you got the music that Daniel had written for Dark in Our Eyes. So was that then a case that you just went straight in with the top line, the vocals, or was there a little bit of manipulation between the vocals and the music for both of you? That's kind of a question to both of you.
I think there was very little changes to the music itself. Maybe some drum changes, because we always do drum changes for like millions and millions of times. And then I think I wrote lyrics to it. One part of the first round of lyrics got rejected, and that was the super chorus. That's our internal name for the catchy part after the chorus. And we went through, I think, 1 or 2 revisions of that before coming up with something in the middle, and then that's what stuck. So honestly, in terms of how songwriting went, I would call it pretty seamless. There was very little changes. It would,
Yeah, the biggest
and,
change was
and go ahead.
adding that bridge. That's about it.
Right, right. The biggest change was adding that bridge, which I forgot about that totally. That didn't come until after we had shown it to some people. I forgot. We originally had another bridge in there when I got really energetically, emotionally screaming into the microphone / crying, whatever you want to call it. And that ended up getting cut, and I'm very glad it did, because I'm thinking back on what it was like now, and it was really cringy. So
It was his Karen hair moment. Like,
yeah, it definitely was.
Full screamo.
It was yeah.
But that's, again, I mean, I'm very new to songwriting, but I've been in bands for a number of years, and obviously that the ability to be able to take things out that you maybe like, you maybe got a bit of a connection with, but overall knowing that it doesn't work within the song is a great skill to have, and I think quite difficult for a lot of artists and creators to do that, to sort of be willing to either hand off the reins to somebody else or be able to just sort of say, do you know what, it's not right, fuck it, it can go. And
Yeah.
it's been I think it's a thing that's difficult when you're working with somebody else. It's slightly easier when you're on your own, but I think obviously if you've got other people, there's always that discussion that you need to have. It's like, is that part really necessary? And if it's a guitarist and it's a guitar solo, then it is absolutely necessary. Yes, it's 100% necessary. So since the Dark in Our Eyes, you've done a few other songs. Did you change up how things done, or was it pretty much Daniel, you would write the music and then Chris, you would put the top line on?
For the most part, yeah. I mean, there's some minute details that that we changed / we're in the process of changing. Sometimes, most often, Daniel will come up with some sort of instrumental. I think Guilt originally started as an instrumental that I had wrote, but it changed so much from what I wrote that I don't even think you could call it my writing anymore. But for the better.
But it was the catalyst. It was the catalyst.
It was
for writing the song. So yeah, he sent me some stuff.
Yeah, the process has largely been, we get an instrumental, I write some sort of top line over it, and then I do some vocal takes on it. Daniel reviews it, we make any changes, and then we try to agree upon a cohesive vision. Which is where what you said earlier about us about having to cut things or change things is really huge. And I think I particularly, both me and Daniel have our moments with this, but I am worse than him. I grab onto parts that I really like, and I'm like, please don't get rid of my child. Daniel's so gracious in his patience for me, but we have a lot of moments like that, because I think recent in like with the False Light, when he originally wrote the False Light, it was not intended to be what we've called a fight song, because it's basically just a fucking chug fight song. Mm-hmm. But it turned into that, and we're trying to make it so that our visions are more in agreement, so that we have less quarrels about what needs to go and what needs to stay.
I guess that'll be one of those things that comes with time, and as you start to understand each other's processes.
Oh yeah.
Do you both work on the lyrics together, or?
I think.
I'd say I massage them.
Daniel.
I massage them to make them more palatable sometimes. Mainly on choruses, like establishing strong hooks, and he delivers on those. So we'll have an original idea, we'll listen to it through a few times, and then we'll craft something that's appropriate for the song. And part of that process is getting out of our own echo chamber, getting a little bit of information from outside, and then determining whether or not we agree with that as far as vision goes, and then applying what makes sense.
Right.
It's a good
We
bit of
always
work.
spend the most time on the choruses. We collaborate on those the most. Sometimes we end up going with like the guilt. The chorus for that was a chorus that he wrote entirely, and I remember we were working on that, and I was like, man, I'm ready. I hate this song. I'm ready to throw this song out the window. And then he came up with that, and I was like, oh, okay, this is good now. And then like there were other ones like the False Light, which I think was just basically I wrote the chorus, and Daniel was okay with it, and then we got some reviews that it was good, and then we just kept it. So most of them we massaged together on the chorus, for sure.
Perfect. Well, talking of the False Light, we'll have a listen to that, and then you can tell us a little bit more about sort of processes that you went through while writing this one. So let me just bring it up. This one
Sounds good. Thank you.
doesn't have a video. Come here.
No, it's only on SoundCloud right now, but the
Yeah.
visualizer for that will be out in like 2 weeks, I think.
Usually I can. Right. Ah, that was it.
Open!
There's that blooming autoplay again.
God,
Awesome.
I love that song.
It's a good song, and it's definitely, I think, it's definitely, it feels like one of your hookier ones. Like, especially you saying the super chorus, as you call it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, basically, tell us the process of how that all came about.
Daniel, do you want to take this one? I feel like I've been talking everyone's ear off.
I write a chunky boy riff, and then
Yes.
I write drums, and then I rewrite the riff to fit the drums better, then build a song around that riff. Then I sent it to Chris. Chris took a few days to write lyrics, then a week or so to track vocals. I started getting all of the track in order, running through different processing chains. Once I got the sound I wanted for him, I laid down my backing vocals, which in this song was a whole bunch of like black metal highs or really low gutturals. So when you hear those like super low gutturals, it's the same guy who was singing like a boy, me, in Dark in Our Eyes. Like weirdest range ever. Like I go super low, super high screams, and then, I think it's just not knowing what's right and wrong, and just doing whatever and throwing spaghetti on the wall, seeing what sticks. But I find that it complements what his range is really well, because it fills out that low, or it adds this like grit to the high that ends up in that. And we didn't have a lot of changes on that one. I think the biggest change that we had was that really jaunty part that came in after the second chorus. We had it in the first part. And we got feedback from Audio Bros that it messed up the song flow. So we cut it. And I think that's probably our strongest suit as a group is we don't throw the it's art card too much. Because, if you're defensive and you're not open to making changes, why are you sending stuff to anyone to give feedback? It's like, you want to make it the best possible. Be open to flexibility, and, it can turn out for the best.
Oh.
Sometimes you got to pull the art card, though, because it is art at the end, but rarely do we ever throw that one.
Yeah.
I've always kind of felt feedback, if it resonates with you one way, whether it's good or bad, it's usually because you're feeling probably the same thing about it. It's like if you were 100% certain of your song, you would say, right, I don't need any feedback because for me it's perfect. But as you said, sending it for feedback, there's niggly bits in that track that you want to get the opinion of people that you trust, who you know are going to give you feedback that's going to be helpful to you to make the song better. And that's the great thing about the Audio Brothers and Trey, and you always know that you're going to get a decent bit of critique that they're going to say the good parts are good, but this is where the weak parts are. And at the end of the day, it's still an opinion, somebody else's opinion. But if you trust that person, then you know they're wanting to get the best out of you. So get the best out of yourself.
Right.
And
it takes a big ego to say, "Oh no, it's perfect." What do you know? Like that's a huge ego. I'm always shocked when I see it. Like,
or incredible, like just arrogance.
yeah, ego is one of those things that it's important to have, but it's also important to not let it rule you. Because I think you need a bit of ego to be able to create something, to have the confidence to put it out there, but also not have it rule you so much that if somebody does give you something that you don't agree with, you throw the toys out the pram and you kick up a fuss and you say, "You fucking suck!" and storm off.
I feel like there's a difference between ego and confidence.
Yeah.
You know? And we've experienced that too, where we've had songs that we were working on that we're like, we're not sure.
No, they're
Other people were
not.
like, I'm not sure about this. And we were like, we really like this. Let's try it. And then we ended up showing it to more people, and it ended up being huge hits. And that's happened, I think, with every song in one way or another. You know, there's always at least one person, be it a streamer or just someone who's listening in the chat. I think on our first song that we ever released, Dark in Our Eyes, when we showed it to the first stream ever, there was just someone in the chat who was like, this is garbage, I don't like this. And I was like, all right, that's fine, to each their own. But we got to be somewhat confident in the work that we put out, you know?
Exactly. That's a good point and a good way to think of it. Because, let's face it, generally if somebody's saying that's shite or that's a rubbish, you don't need their opinion. They're not giving you constructive feedback. They're just being an arse. And what's Charles just said something in here. Let's see. He said something. Here we go. As he said, Charles said, I think Daniel is the best example of someone that isn't married to anything in the song. It's like flying a plane. You're the one flying it, but you only get home with instruments in ATC. There's flight analogies are always good. And again,
This is the captain speaking.
This is Captain Charles. We are just flying at 30,000 feet. I've gone off a slight tangent there. Sorry, I'm drinking wine, so I've got a little bit.
Already.
That is very classy of you.
I'm drinking a lovely Hungarian red. In fact, sorry, no, it's a Romanian red. So, it's very nice. Right, back up to the subject of songwriting. So, what would you say has been the biggest obstacles during this collaboration?
I'll take that one, Chris.
Go ahead.
Merging styles.
Yeah.
We find ourselves running up against this problem. We're not extreme enough for the extreme crowd, and we're not accessible enough for the super accessible crowd. So we're sitting there in the middle, and we have to accept how divisive that is. However, it makes the music different, and owning that. You know, sometimes you always want everyone to like what you put out, but it's the realization that you have to understand that most people aren't going to like what you have because you're not writing pop.
Right.
And owning that.
Yeah, we're definitely not in it isn't the fad anymore to like heavy music. Although I think it's coming back. If you look at like modern rap, that shit's heavy. But we're definitely like in that weird limbo in between. And it sucks to simultaneously get feedback sometimes. It's like, this wasn't heavy enough for our playlist, or the alternative, this was too heavy for our audience. Now of course there's always that niche right in the middle, but it is a niche, and expanding out of that can be hard.
Yes. It's always difficult, I think, but keep doing what you're doing, and you're always good. You're going to find an audience, regardless of sort of, I don't like to say genre, because you've said yourselves, you're kind of mixing genres, and you've got the heavy stuff. You've got, what's nice about it is that nice combination of heavy, harsh vocals with the clean vocals over it. You've got great riffs, and bearing in mind you're only 3 or 4 songs into kind of writing together.
Yeah.
And
about 4 months in.
4 songs released.
4 songs released. So you've obviously write more, but the 4 songs that you have released or soft released, they're all good songs, and you can tell, even from my point of view, it's like, I mean, I've never really been into the really, really kind of heavy screamed metal, but I always know when it's good. I know when it's done well, and your stuff is like done well, and I like the combination, and I think that you're a great partnership together.
Thank
Your
you.
your vocals,
Thank you.
Chris, are always. I mean, this is the thing. One of the advantages to not listen to a huge amount of metal is that I don't hear all the references that maybe other people do that bring
Right.
back to you. So, oh, you sound like so and so. I don't hear any of that because I don't really know of any of those bands. So to me, it's like it's fresh. There's bits I think are great bits. Like, but again, that's just an opinion on a song, and again, because not really knowing or listening to a huge amount of the style that you're doing. But again,
Yeah.
you're kind of mixing styles, which is really nice.
Yeah.
And I think that I'll shut up and
Yeah,
let
we
you
get
say.
we get sorry. We get a lot of comments from people that do know the genre saying that I sound like Corey Taylor. And at this point it has become a freaking meme. It's just become a radical like joke. Every time we release a song, it's either, oh, this sounds like Korn, this sounds like Corey Taylor, or get the occasional Lamb of God. It's gotten to the point where if I don't see any of those three and I see a fourth like different one, I'm like, whoa, okay, that's great. And that's really cool to hear that like you think that it sounds good even though you don't have the background in the genre that other people have, because what we ultimately want to do is not only please the people in the genre and in the know that love this kind of music, but also, you know, if possible, bring other people to it and say, okay, here's a new take. We get that you didn't like XYZ band's take on this genre, maybe you'll like ours, right?
And that's it. I think one of the things that I think sets older musicians apart from the younger ones, because again, I think we're all similar ages. How old are you, Daniel?
You gonna out me like that?
Okay,
39.
you're 39. I'm 42. Chris, is he gonna say
I'm 25.
25? So, but from that age group, if you think, I mean, if I think back to like in my 20s and that, I wouldn't have the confidence to sort of release stuff and that, and it would be I'd be a lot more protective. So I think just as you get that bit older, you start thinking of your songs more maturely, which therefore you're not so protective of them, which therefore I think make them better. I don't know if you agree on that, but that's just my opinion as I've got older.
No, I think that's right. I think that's right. And I think the amount of work it takes to release songs in a way that gets them heard and gets them out there. Like, you can just put a song on DistroKid and just release it. But that's different than, like, marketing a song and doing all that stuff. Having done it, split the work between me and Daniel, it's got to be so hard for one person to do all that work.
Oh man, no.
And,
Yeah,
and to
forget
also,
that.
yeah. And to also have like that confidence that you are doing the right things even when you fail, because me and Daniel have hit points where like, oh man, we screwed up, and if I was doing it solo, like I feel like some points would have been just like, yeah, no, I'm just gonna take a break from music for 6 months and go to the Alps and become a snow yeti, and that's my life choice. It's really hard for solo musicians to make it, and having a group or at least having a community is so important, which is why I feel like streamers like you make a huge difference.
No, I 100% agree on that. Community, environment dictates a lot of what you do, and if you're surrounded by like-minded people, whether it's in person or online, you're going to feed off them. You're going to feed off their ambition, their songwriting ideas and things like that. I mean, I feel myself like the one strength that I have is just all my jobs have been based in sales or customer service, so marketing aspects of things isn't such an issue. But at the same time, having a product I believe enough in to market is a difficult bit, and that's why you need the feedback.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And it's really easy to just get discouraged. And I mean, honestly, if you are discouraged at any point, that means you care and that means you're improving. Um, uh, and there will come a point one day where you're just like, screw it, I don't care. I'm going to release this maybe not because I think it's the best music in the world, but because I want my music out there. And I think that's the point I hit right before me and Daniel met. I was like, screw it, I really don't care if this ends up being not my best work. I have years ahead of me where I can produce my best work. I want to get myself out there, and I thank God that I did, because I've met so many people since doing that. It's like been a total 180 shift in me making music.
And then you get all the other things. I don't have this issue, but if I believe you've got kids, Daniel, is that right?
I do.
Yeah. So
Us
there's
too.
other priorities in your life that can take away and have to put the music second, and it's, as they always say, that, what was it, like, life is wasted on the young or something like that. It's like, because you only realize kind of all the opportunities that you wish that you could go back and do with the confidence that you have as an older person.
Yeah.
To pull this off with a job, kids, kind of have to know life it. If you want to get anything done,
Yeah.
you're spending your free time working on this. It's a lot of work. Writing, mixing, mastering, the rewrites, marketing,
Yep.
um, building around a community. Because ultimately the community is going to be either your most diehard haters or your biggest supporters, and it's building around that, because it prepares you for what the rest of the world is going to react like. You'll have the haters, and then you'll have um, the diehard supporters, and then expands from that. So I'm looking forward to when we get to a point where we've got enough stuff that our backlog actually lets me like relax.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Yeah. And we're closer now. A couple
yeah,
more songs, and it'll be easier going. We're already starting to get to the point where we're like, okay, we don't have to produce a song every 2 weeks. We're starting to take our time, and that's good.
Are you finding, so obviously you've released Dark in Our Eyes, you've got Gil, are you doing a little bit of that kind of waterfall release? I'm sure you'd mentioned before, Daniel,
yeah.
that you were doing every 4 weeks, was it?
Yeah.
It's 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
As far as what our internal deadline is to push something to DistroKid, and then prepare all the stuff behind it and start the campaign for marketing it. But our release schedule is about every 4 weeks for the next 6 songs. And then
Hmm.
we're still strategizing on what we do after that, since we have about 11 songs worth of material we're working on. So we've been
Yep.
busy. We've got a lot written in 4 months. Um, as far as what we have in the schedule right now, we've got this one coming out February 10th, The Guilt. Then The False Light will hit March 15th. And then April 7th will be Rise. And we've got
Yep.
those all scheduled out. So uh, we're just waiting on those and working on the 5th, 6th, 7th songs throughout
Yeah.
that point of time.
And if
And
anyone wants to hear them early, the visualizers will now be going up before the official release. We want to try and we love that we've gotten a lot of traffic on SoundCloud, and that's really cool. And we want to see, and we'd like to see people checking out the YouTube channel as well, because um, YouTube is just a better platform from community, in my opinion, at least. SoundCloud's great, but there's so much more we could do with YouTube. We could actually release videos, and that's something we plan to do in the future. So starting that process now is really cool, and also lets people hear the songs early if they want to hear the songs early. So yeah.
And with regards to your sort of marketing and your promotion that you're doing yourselves, what kind of things are you doing?
I'm gonna turn it over to
Oh, well,
Daniel because he does a lot of that.
so on the social media front, we've split that. The lion's share is on Chris, so he manages our Twitter and our Instagram. I manage our Facebook, and then I market on Submit Hub, in that I target playlist curators, and we're probably going to have a conversation with a music marketing person sometime in the next month or so to try and figure out how to do targeted advertising campaigns. It's a push that I've been getting from, I'll just call him my mentor, for lack of a better term. But I saw the numbers and how it affected their campaigns. It's like a 100% rise in in their their exposure almost overnight. Um, so I think they were at 2,000, and all of a sudden it was 4,000 listeners. And then, yeah, to see that kind of return, because a professional who does this as their job knows how to market you, I think it's a worthwhile investment, but then not giving up the grassroots campaign. So balancing the two out.
Are
Yep, and
you
making sure that we have a big enough backlog that if we do get that sudden spike in listeners, that they don't just have, 4 songs to listen to. They've got a whole variety, enough to be like, okay, this is now my favorite band. Every time they release a song, I'm gonna come back.
have you set out a budget for that, or is it
We have a monthly budget.
monthly budget?
We have a monthly budget we both chip into. However, things like that, like getting a marketing guy, we'd have to come up with a budget of what we're going to, and first part of any budget is getting quotes. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
got to figure that out first. How much are they going to ask for?
I've
And
got a,
then figure out what we have in our means.
and I've got a wee question from the chat here. Just seen that Charles has put, what is the ultimate goal with this project?
Oh
Uh,
no. Uh,
Take over the world and own you all,
That's
100%.
25-year-old energy right there.
Exactly. No,
Um,
no. I
Daniel's
mean,
just like,
what is?
I'll be happy to get to bed by 10.
I don't
um,
know. I mean, from my side, we've talked about it. Um, there's, the logistics part of it with, careers and responsibilities. It have to be very carefully managed. I'm
yeah,
not rushing to even consider um, major major interest from any entity that would put so much stress on us that we'd have to make drastic changes. Um, it'd have to be remarkable to even consider that. But I also think that
yeah,
that's a little bit too much looking down that dream and thinking you're going to get there. I'd rather have that problem and I not be ready for it than smoke that pipe dream. It's
Yeah,
like
that's a good way
if
to
it
look at it.
happens, cool.
Yeah.
If it happens, cool. I'll figure out what I'll do at that point. But right now, it's like, hey, this is fun, and I don't like to do things half-assed, so I'll do it right and see where that ends up.
yeah,
I
yeah. No,
definitely,
it's definitely a case of it's we're just trying to make music that we enjoy and get it out there with the best ratio of growing a community while also not killing ourselves in the process.
I think it's one of those. It's the great thing about now compared to obviously like even to a point like 6 years ago, like the ability to write, record, produce, mix, master all your own songs has given a big opportunity to a lot of people, but also it has also meant that the entire market is completely saturated with so much. And I think we all know the stats. It was between 70,000 and 120,000 songs a day are released on Spotify, and then you've got all the big marketers and things like that. But usually the ones that get the most plays do tend to be the best in whatever field that they're in. Not always, but majority of the time, the style and the genre or things like that, the ones that do hit to the top or do make their way to the top, and I think this is one of the advantages with streaming, is that yeah, a lot of stuff can get put in front of people, but people will still find stuff that they wouldn't normally.
Yep.
And it's certainly possible if you've got the songs, if you've got the good songs to hit that role. And I've seen that happen with somebody I've been following for the last couple of years. An artist, guy called Ren, British guy, phenomenal musician, great songwriter. I think personally one of the best lyricists of a generation. And his stuff is now hitting his latest single that he released has now, I think, had 4 million views on YouTube. He's had reaction videos from like Justin Hawkins of The Darkness and stuff, but he has been consistently putting out song after song after song while engaging constantly with his audience, and that's certainly, I think, one of the things that gets forgotten about. Again, from a songwriter's perspective and a band's perspective, it's like they want to be focusing on the song, which is right.
Mm-hmm.
But in today's age, if you want to even build up a following to get people behind you, you kind of got to do that thing where you've got to interact with them. You've got to think of your song, and you've got to think of parts of your song as a short or as a reel or something like that. And I think because a lot of bands, and I think maybe it's a thing with metal or rock in general, there's a lot of sort of 35 plus sort of age who don't like the idea of social media. Mm-hmm. And they see it as it's a waste of time, whereas people who have grown up with it, they're seeing it as a job. And I think that a lot of bands would be better sometimes to maybe see that, to promote themselves, because there's a lot of great songwriters out there that you don't hear of because it's not right to market yourself. Marketing has always been a bit of a dirty word when it comes to artists and musicians and things. It's like, I'm writing the songs for myself. But at the end of the day, are you really just writing them for yourselves? Because otherwise, would you?
No.
Yeah.
No. And I'm staring holes into Chris right now, and he's probably staring holes into me. I need to get on Twitch and start putting content together around how the music is made, the process, what makes it real instead of just a polished product, to engage with the audience more and make them feel more invested in what we're doing. And Chris needs to get on fucking TikTok.
Hey,
already.
Hey, no. I didn't say this because I just found it out yesterday. I made a TikTok 2 days ago and I got banned.
You got banned?
Immediately banned.
Why?
Immediately banned. I don't know.
What did you
TikTok
say?
Bans, they don't tell you why. I didn't say anything. It was literally just like it was basically a meme clip of the song. And it was there was nothing in there that was controversial. I don't understand. I feel like I'm being targeted.
I mean,
we need to check on DistroKid to see if you got copyright flagged. If we did, we could probably do that. But we got copyrighted by ourselves. That's awesome.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So I don't know.
I will say I know my girlfriend does a lot of TikToks, and at least from her experience, TikTok will just outright ban you for this little list of things and not tell you why.
Yeah.
So it could be something tiny, like
wow.
I don't know.
Automated
algorithm.
What were you wearing?
Lingerie.
What were you wearing? Like I don't know, man. Maybe you were wearing some like color that was, had some unknown meaning that we don't know about, but like it triggered someone. Dude, you got to be more careful on TikTok.
Yeah,
Like,
you're right. I
damn.
really shouldn't have worn that black T-shirt with black sweatpants.
I mean, I I would sort of say, I mean, TikTok. I'm not on TikTok. I might have to consider doing a channel, but I think for musicians and for maybe the style of music that you're playing, something like YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels are going to be more beneficial to you, partly because I would say the majority of your listeners are probably going to be of that age group that still do a bit of Instagram, do a bit of Facebook, and are on YouTube. I don't know how
I,
big the metal scene is on TikTok. I think it's definitely more pop and hip hop.
you'd be surprised. Um, I'm thoroughly addicted to TikTok, because I'm a child of the generation that I am. There's a sizable metal community on there. The problem is that metal community is, in my opinion at least, much harder to break into, than different metal communities. It's filled with the big six. It's filled with Slipknot, Motionless in White, Lorna Shore, Slaughter to Prevail, and Gojira, and occasionally like Avenged Sevenfold stuff. Like just the biggest band names, and it's really hard to separate yourself as something different. And it's funny to say that because I just looked up Ren. I know this guy. I found him from TikTok.
Yeah.
I know his music.
Yeah.
I saw a clip of Hi Ren on TikTok.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
It's insane.
and again, when I was talking about engagement and community, like he's always answered my. I mean, not so much now, partly because he's undergoing a lot of treatment, but he's always answered my Instagram messages. He's always like whether he's liked them or replied back to me. I was hoping to get him on the show, but I think it's going to be a bit difficult now, partly because of his treatment, but also because he's getting interviews by like BBC and offers for Glastonbury and reviews by like Justin Hawkins and stuff like that. So I doubt he's gonna do it, but I'm still gonna ask, because if you don't ask, you don't find out, really.
Yeah.
But I think that the thing that I've seen most about these communities and songwriting communities and music feedback communities is that all these different channels that I always mention, like Audio Brothers, Thomas Christ, Pete Johns, Trays, Farm, Bobby Everything, Conspiracy Music, they've all got their own micro community, but it's slowly becoming like a macro community across all the different channels. I'm like people from Trey's stream starting going into like Pete Johns, Jay Star, stuff like that. They're coming in to ours, which is great, and I'm loving it. And I think that it's a great opportunity for us as a community and as musicians to sort of double down on that and help each other as much as we can, which is one of the reasons like I enjoy having people like yourselves on to find out your processes, but also hopefully to like share out your music to maybe somebody that hasn't heard it. Somebody might stumble across it and be like, that's a fucking awesome song. Like somebody might stumble onto my YouTube and go, oh, that's cool, or stumble onto my Instagram that doesn't know you guys but then likes what they hear and then goes and follows you guys, and the community gets that little bit bigger. And I think that it's a slow process. Unfortunately, we want everything super quick now, but it's realistically you've got to be consistently posting on Instagram at least once a day for a full year, if not twice a day, really. And it's got to include reels and things like that. And what you were saying, Daniel, about ideas for Twitch, and I think Chuck said something in the comments which is true, was playing about with guitar tones, stuff like that. Little 30-second videos, just leave the camera running and then just cut out bits and stick it up. You don't need to edit it or anything like that. You stick a thing on and just post it and just keep posting and keep posting, and it will get, because the more you post, the more the algorithm will see that you're doing it, so the more it'll push it out to people, especially if you're getting like the likes and stuff and the engagement. But people love watching people play the guitar.
I do love me screwing around with guitar tones.
Yeah.
I don't have Charles level of gear. Like I don't have like 16 amps, but I do have 8. So it's like 50% of that level of gear. However, creatively getting it across, and the difference between a raw tone and what ends up being the process tone is so different. And I think that that's one thing that I think, if anything, from a content perspective, is going, this is the kind of tone, this neutral sound that you want to get that's pliable when you start tracking at home, and build content around that. Like, is it supposed to sound the way it's going to sound at the end? There's a school of thought for that. However, that school of thought also has DIs to back them up when that shit doesn't work out in the mix. So it's like,
Yeah.
all right, well, now I'm going to run it through an amp sim. If you go for a more neutral tone, you can do EQ moves, you can do processing moves that have less of a negative impact to make things fit within the overall context of a mix. And that's how I approach recording. You know, I'll set up the mics and try and get a neutral yet satisfying tone, and then bam, I start doing the processing on the outside. So I know I've got people who are watching right now that hear my raw guitar tones. And I know Chris has heard it. And at the end of it, it's like, that sounds like a completely different guitar tone. Well,
Yeah.
I had to make this cut for the bass. I had to make this cut for the drums in the guitar tone. And then the biggest and most important part, I'm going to watch Chris smile right now, is you got to make room for the vocals, because they're the most important part to any human, because that's what you identify with, is the vocals. You know? Everyone has a voice. Not everyone plays guitar.
Right.
So
Um,
that's
in
the
terms of-
biggest change.
Yeah.
That's the biggest
Sorry.
change that I've done since working with Chris, is taking back a few steps on guitar. You know, if you listen to the old Ruined Effigy stuff, it was a little self-indulgent on the guitar stuff, more focused on that, with the vocals being more of an afterthought, because that's what my writing process was like back then. And now it's focusing more on, how is this going to support the vocal, and understanding your role as part of a song, not, I want to make the song about the guitar.
Right.
Which,
Yeah. And it was weird for me too, because coming from the way that I had made music solo, the vocals were always the thing that carried any music that I wrote, because when I wrote music, even though I was making metal, everything was MIDI. The guitars were MIDI, the drums were MIDI, and don't get me wrong, if you go listen to Crown of Rust stuff, it's all right. And I did my best to make it not sound like MIDI. Some parts I failed, whatever. It's been a while. But it was very simplistic, and coming from that to working with Daniel's extremely interesting rhythms and just I mean it when I say musical theory prowess, because there's key changes I don't even recognize as key changes in his song. It was a huge shift in the way I wrote, and it's still a huge shift in the way I write. I'm still getting used to how I have to approach a song, and how I have to come and mix with what Daniel was bringing to the table, because there's just so much good stuff.
And
yeah, I'm not a music theory god. I just know enough. I know enough to I know enough to know when something's fucked up. It's like, all right, this is fucked up.
sometimes I think having a little bit of theory knowledge is good, but sometimes it can. I I was at college for 2 years doing music performance, and we had a lot of theory, and I actually really got into it. I found it very interesting. So my theory's not bad, but my ear's not brilliant. And I think the theory's good because I can kind of think, right, I know that that chord, I can play that mode or something like that, and it should fit together. Because, but not all the time, but most of the time it does help. And I think that having a little bit of knowledge is definitely something that benefits you as a songwriter. I think one of the things you were saying, Daniel, about finding tones and guitar tones and everything like that, that's certainly a rabbit hole that I imagine.
Yes.
I'm kind of thankful that I've not gone down, to be honest. I've always been kind of fairly straightforward on my guitar. It's like it's clean or distorted, and now everything's just plugged in DI, and then I'll leave it up to somebody else to make it sound better than I can. But I could see how you could get into finding that, because I hear guitar tones sometimes and I think that sounds beautiful. Like Paul David's that guitarist, like his clean tones that he always has in his videos are just so lush, and it's obviously there's all the different theories, and I can't get into, like, I can see why there's discussions on why certain parts are work and certain parts don't, and it's to do with this and to do with that, but it feels like a side of guitar or a side of music that, because there's a scientific aspects to it and the way that, I guess, like in physics and frequencies and stuff work, that it tends to cause a lot of dissonance between people in it, because everybody's ears are going to hear something differently. Like my ears are going to hear different to your ears. So what tone sounds good to you might not resonate with me, not through any difference in the setup or anything like that, just the way that we are, I guess, our genetics and the way our ears work and things like that. So it does feel like chasing that must be a lot of fun, but also a lot of heartache.
Well, it's like guitar tone, in all honesty, as a guitar nerd, is some guitar nerd shit. Like, so
Yes.
we have to, like, cater to different parts of the crowd. So that's why, once he gets unbanned from TikTok, I don't know how, but whatever. Chris will cater to the general audience, and then I'll cater to the guitar nerds, the engineering nerds. That way we're attacking both fronts. The general audience connects with the vocalist, and then the guitar nerds and engineering nerds connect with the engineering side of it, the tonality, so to say. Because, I mean, normal listeners don't give a crap about that shit. They're like, this is a cool song. I can sing along to it, or I can dance to it. They're not like, oh my God, that sounds like a Mason Boogie dual rectifier through Ribbon 121 through greenbacks. Oh, like, no, that's guitar nerd stuff.
You just said a bunch of words.
But I love guitar nerd stuff.
I didn't understand. But Chris, from a vocal point of view, vocal tone's very important, and finding your voice and finding the tone that works, one, for the song, but also from a perspective of something that you like and you have the ability to control, is also something that can be chased for a long time. Have you said that you done kind of EDM and stuff like that predominantly? Was that just based on because you didn't really play instruments and it was just more vocal stuff and you liked the MIDI kind of the programming side of things, or was it because it suited your voice? Or
It was partially born out of necessity and partially born out of what I already liked. So to give some background, I started playing in bands when I was 13, and from the time when I was 15 until when I was about 18, I was in a band called Slave to the Machine, and I think there's still YouTube videos up there now. Very bad name, but we were all right. And for the first year, I played guitar. And then when I was 16, I had a accident, and I broke my left arm so bad that my left hand is basically virtually numb. I can move it and I can use it, but playing guitar is very hard now. And the angle that the guitar is at, this hurts my wrist. So it's just becomes to the point my hand locks up and I can't use it. So I basically had to give up guitar and do something else, but I still wanted to be in the band. And at the same time, that was in the era when EDM was huge thing. That was when Skrillex had just came up and dropped a bomb on the whole freaking thing. Oh, he held up his new toy. So for me, the switch to EDM and the switch to doing vocals was largely out of necessity because I felt like my main instrument had been ripped away from me. And also it was a product of the times, you know? I was like, oh, I can do stuff on computers. I'm already a computer nerd anyway. I may as well put some music into it. I'll be cooler if I do this. That's right. I'll let the chat be the judge of whether or not that worked out. But the point is, yeah, it was a weird combination of just the timing of things and then doing vocals. And then I started doing vocals at like 16 and I've been doing vocals ever since and developing a sound and realizing that I sound like someone else, trying to not sound like someone else, then realizing that I just sound like how I sound and however I sound, as long as I'm happy with it, I'm okay with it. That whole process was, took, well, I guess literally a decade at this point, almost.
I think.
Can we all just admit that, you know, the dream here is to get Finn McKenty from Punk Rock MBA to talk shit about you on his stream? Like that's what I want. Like tell me I'm new metal trash or deathcore wash-ups. Like that's please. That's what I want.
Hurt me more.
That's the dream.
I think
I love his show.
I think people are always going to find something that they know and compare you to that person that they know. Like whether it sound like, I think from a perspective of the style of music that you're playing, being compared to who you're being compared to, Chris, I think is a good compliment because they're two people that I've heard of, and I'm not really in the scene, but I have, and again, and they are good vocalists. So it's, but yeah, it's very rare that you're probably ever going to get a comment. It's like that's a completely unique voice, yeah.
Yeah, that's like the dream golden scenario where it was someone's like, wow, that voice is so unique and good.
That
but
guy
no one
sounds
says
like
that.
Chris
No one
Blumen.
speaks like that. Oh my God, who's that? And then of course they'd mispronounce my last name and call me Chris Blowen, which me and Andrew had a good laugh over.
Yes.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. Oh, my high school teacher used to call me that.
Oh.
And then I would correct them and like I could see it in his stinking little face. He knew what he was doing the whole time, but he just played dumb.
I don't know about you, but that sure is blowing.
Well,
nah, dude, I got called Jimenez. Like, I'm in Georgia. Like, Jimenez. Jiminy's. Like, come on, man. Like, oh. So I feel you.
I mean, I always get compared to the President of the United States, but unfortunately he was a bit of a badass, actually. A bit of a dick, but he was a bit of a badass as well. Kept on shooting everybody.
All Americans are dicks.
Well, what I think we'll do is we'll have a listen to Rise, and then we'll check out some of the submissions and we can have a listen to that, because I got a couple in the forum. I think there's a couple in the Discord. I believe that Trey said he was streaming tonight, so we'll carry on chatting, and then I messaged him to say, if you are, go and let me know and I'll pin your thing in the chat, and then we can all go and watch Trey. But we will listen to Rise. And
did Chuck submit something? Because I'm gonna riot if there's no Chuck Talica.
Actually, Chuck, I keep on meaning to. Yeah, Chuck, go and send in your latest one that you sent in on. You
Yeah.
released on YouTube, because I was going to play that anyway. Because there was a few. Sometimes when I've not got a huge amount of submissions, I kind of think I just want to play some songs that I want to listen to. But I'm also very aware that it can suspend the stream as well, which is a bit. I'm not bothered about copyright. That doesn't bother me, but I think that when the stream gets suspended, I only find out about 10 seconds after. And I look in the chat and everybody's like, where's he gone?
Yeah, I don't think Chuck uses CD Baby, so we should be fine.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to bring up the SoundCloud app's not as visual as the website version. So I find that no. Okay, we're just gonna use the app because it's asking me to sign in and I can't remember my passwords. So okay. So Rise by Shadow of the Throne. Yes, that's a good breakdown there. Good. That's a punch people in the pit breakdown.
Yes, it is.
No,
That's the part that keeps me coming back to the song every time. Every time I listen to that song for that part. Don't get me wrong, chorus is great, but man, I love that breakdown.
It's good breakdown on that. So
Inspired by war, machine guns. No.
my wife loves the machine gun drums, as she calls it, the super fast double bit kick and stuff. So yeah, tell us a little bit about Rise and kind of the process of that one.
That one was filled with turmoil. I think I wrote the lyrics for it, and it was originally our longest song, I think, or on par to be on like tied with the longest of our songs, and then we showed it to some people once it was to the point where it was ready to be showed. Some people liked it, some people hated it. We thought about changing the chorus, and I think I wrote 2 other choruses for it. And then we got more feedback than before saying they liked the chorus, and so we kept it. And then we got it just went back and forth like that, and it came to the point where we were like, okay, this is just a divisive song. This is just a song that creates drastic change in opinion. And so we ended up sticking with the original vision for it. So that chorus you hear was the original chorus that came around during the first writing draft. In terms of the instrumentals, that went from being a 4.5-minute song to being our shortest song. We cut whole sections. We rearranged the entirety of the thing. My favorite part, the silences in between the choruses, like before the last chorus and after the second choruses, those weren't there. That was because we had cut parts, or we did a time signature change, and we had also cut a whole other section that was like a blast beat section. That one had, I think, it's tied for Guilt for having the most revisions. I think it had more revisions than Guilt, to be honest. That one was fun.
Yeah. Yeah, but it turned out good, and it turned out to be our shortest song. And it got to the point. We do have that little deviation there for the breakdown, but it feels more natural now. It doesn't overstay its welcome, as far as that's my opinion. And that's what we're trying to go for. Try to be to the point. And I don't know if you see a pattern in the songs now, but we try and go for a lot of danceability to the music. It's not so much groove as I'd say it's more the way that it moves, that you can keep moving with it. So I think that it will land even better live.
Yeah.
Make people move.
No, it's a good track, and it's definitely, yeah, breakdown. It's good to see that, because I know that you obviously you had feedback about your song and you looked at it, and sometimes there's that reluctance to take chunks out of songs because you're like, I like that bit, but you know that you can always put it into something else anyway. But doing that, and then overall the song becomes better. You enjoy it more, you enjoy performing it more, you enjoy seeing people's reactions, because obviously if you're playing it and you're seeing reactions and people are like nodding their head and things like that, and then you see them kind of drifting off or something like that, it's knowing that they're concentrating and listening to the song for that time is great. And it's, I think, probably, yeah, I've not heard that one before. I don't think I would have, or I might have heard a earlier version of it. Maybe you've sent it into the Audio Brothers Daniel or into Trey's stream, and I maybe heard that. But that was because I could kind of remember the breakdown, and I remember the chorus, the rise, and that was a bit that stuck with me, and that's cool. Excellent. Right. Well, I'd like to thank you.
They give
both.
great feedback. Thank you.
No, thank you,
for real.
Chris and Daniel, for joining me. You're going to still be with me. We're going to be listening to other songs, but thanks very much for sitting down and chatting and telling us about yourselves and the story of Shadow of the Throne. It was really nice having you on, and definitely get you back on again. And maybe the next time I'll not ramble so much because I won't have drunk wine. Is there anything you want to say? Obviously, we've got the release of Guilt coming out on the 10th, the official release of Guilt coming out on the 10th of February, but promo yourselves now.
I'd really like to see you put on a wig, a la Trey, but since you've got the perfect voice for it, I want to hear you do Robin Williams, Mrs. Doubtfire. Come on, man. Please. You know you could do it. Just drink more wine.
I forgot how she said it. What's she saying again? Mrs.
Toodaloo!
Hello, Mrs. Doubtfire. No, I'm sounding like a posh English.
I told you, it's perfect, isn't it? It's perfect. All right, Chris, go ahead and mark it away.
I'm currently logged into the Shadow of the Throne YouTube channel. I'm just gonna put a message in chat. So if you guys wanna go, if the people in chat wanna go check out the YouTube channel, there it is. I'm gonna drop I'm gonna drop the link tree in there as well, so you can go and check everything else out there. That's where we've got the Twitter and the Instagram and the Facebook and the blue and the blah and the X and the Y and the Z. And yeah, thank you for having us on. It's amazing, and seeing people in the chat that like know our music and are like saying that it's like nice to put faces to the music, like Juicebox. It's just cool to know that people know that we exist, although I don't think I've met Juicebox Esmond before, and that's just really cool. So thank you, and thank all the people in the chat for listening.
Well, I'll definitely get you guys back on, and every so often it's quite, maybe just do one where we're just, because the nice thing about this software is I can have up to 10 people on, so we've had a few times where we've just had a bunch of people on just kind of chatting and listening to songs and stuff like that. So
that's cool.
Normally I'm trying to get a guest on, trying to get better at interviewing people and asking questions and not rambling. And I will say next week we've got Valerie Batt is going to be joining us. Valerie is a singer-songwriter she stays in Colorado. And she's got a fantastic voice. She writes great songs. She does a live stream every Friday performing acoustic songs and covers. So go and check out her channel. But she'll be here next week and we'll be chatting, and she'll be doing some performances. I will get you guys back on again. Just maybe in a few months' time, once a few more releases, and we'll have another wee chat. But what we'll do just now is we will listen to some songs. Shadow of the Throne. I want to say again, thanks so much, Chris, Daniel, for joining me. Thank you very much for everybody who submitted songs. It's always appreciated. It's always a bit scary. I'm getting a little bit better at giving feedback. I've never really liked doing it because I don't feel like I'm in a place to do it. I can only give opinions, but I know that it can help. I know it helped me, and it's helped me a lot, and I think that if it's done right, it's a good thing to do. So I really appreciate Daniel and Chris giving their feedback. Go and subscribe to their channels. If you're on Instagram, go and give Shadow of the Throne a follow. Do that thing when you pre-save tracks and add to playlists and all the usual stuff, if you've got Spotify and everything like that. Before we listen to that, I'll let Daniel and Chris say their cheery byes to everybody in the chat.
Yeah. So this song will be out on Friday. Please save it.
Yeah.
Come go listen to it. It'll be on a bunch of playlists probably within 3 days of release. So we hope that this one will help us out some more on our quest to be heard.
Yeah.
All right.
It's, if you want to hear early, the YouTube visualizer is already up. And I mean, just beyond that, thank you so much, Andrew, for having us on. Mr. President Andrew Jackson, really appreciate it. Hope to be back.
Thanks, Andrew. This was an honor.
Thank you. No, thank you. Excuse me. Rusty Cog, Discord. If you go to the link in the description to the link tree, it's got a link to join the Discord or submit songs as well. So you'll be able to get it through that. So just go into the description. While the song's playing, I'll bring it up and I'll pin it in the chat as well. So we'll. Do you want to watch the visualizer, or should we just have our handsome faces on while we listen to your cracking tune?
I cringe when I listen to our own music. Cause visualizer, please.
Okay, no problem.
I've heard it too many times.
Do you want me dancing in it? I can just be like that.
Yeah,
That's great.
dance.
Yeah, leave that.
Dance for me.
And I'll occasionally I'll chuck up that.
Hell yeah.
Like the old things like you told me. I don't wanna fucking see you missing all the bloody memories of my maturity. Loaded guns on the edge of insanity. Taking a reckless, fucking just a better way. And insecurity, a demonology, trapped in my psychology. Giving up for the men who made me. A psychopathic liar. Like violence, like father. Like silence, like mother. I hope that you feel that you're twisted, skin tired. Lights from blood, no blood spilled. My God, I hope you got to feel the guilt. The wasted seeds the men you left behind. The guilt. The bleeding scar that won't heal with time. Come on, let me hear your excuse. Was one single feeling not enough to abuse? Why not make it two? But I have to be the one to get so fucking lucky. What I have to be you? When I gotta be a fucking nightmare. I cross on my back. Could have been sentence. Back across the river. I wait for your retribution. But I gotta hear you. Say you. Speak you. Fuck you. Waiting for the signal to come back across the river. So I can touch and beat you. Like violence. Like father. Like silence. Like mother. I hope that you feel that you're twisted, skin tired. Lights through blood, no blood spilled. My God, I hope you got to feel the guilt. The wasted seeds the men you left behind. The guilt. The bleeding scar that won't heal with time. The fucking hear me. I want you to fucking hear me. Your father, your mother, you're writing things on me. What the fuck is wrong? Did you do this? Did you say? Your patience is astounding when you're leaving me. And broken, empty, honest, fucking look at me.